Hi everyone, it's Kelly here from spiritualawakeningsigns.com. Thanks for joining us today. If you don't know me and you haven't really seen what I do before, I help people who are moving through the spiritual awakening pathway to do so a little bit more easily, and I give you some tools and things that you can use to be able to do that. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So to give you a little outlook of what's going on, there's no energy forecast this month like I usually do, and when I explain what's been happening, you'll actually understand why, because I've been going through a massive awakening purge, which I'm sure you'll be able to relate to because it happens a lot throughout the awakening journey. And I'll cover that in just a little second and tell you a little bit more about what's been going on. So I'm also ready to announce that our new energy healing session, it's not quite a meditation this month, it's something a little bit different, which is called the crystal frequency, and it's all focused about healing the broken psyche, damage of the mind, illuminating the shadow self. It's a really interesting topic. It's available now, but it's only available for the next 7 days. So I will put a link to that in the comments, and you can have a little look when you hear about the things that we're discussing and see if you can relate. And before we start, I also have to apologise because I'm really unwell and as I've been going through this purge, my body is physically purging, so I've got a really sore throat and I've got loads of poison, and I'm sounding a little bit croaky, so I apologise if I cough halfway. However, I am prepared. I have my little cup of tea here just so that I can clear my throat, and I even have a hot water bottle because it's getting so cold here in Scotland now that it's just obligatory, but that'll help me make it through, so I apologise if I'm a little bit croaky, but it should go according to plan. So before we start, the topic that I want to cover today is the shadow self. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what's been going on for me over the last few weeks, processing the shadow self and everything that I've kind of learned about it, and I'm sure you guys will be able to relate. So shadow self is the place that we do not want to go. We just don't want to go there. So it might be your entire life, might be lifetimes, you know, a longer time. We just won't go there. It's that part of us that we consider to be dark. It's all of the negatives that we would rather that we didn't have, and all the experiences that we've chosen to bury deep in the subconscious. It's the dark voice inside of us that whispers that you're bad, that you're not good enough, and that no one would ever really love you if they knew the truth of, you know, what you've done and what you've been. And it's all the parts of us that are hiding that we're hiding from, but we're physically hiding from, and that we would never illuminate to ourselves or anyone else. So anything that you wouldn't want to tell anyone, wouldn't want anyone to know, it's essentially the brokenness of your mind. It's the damage of the psyche. So your shadow self is the dark side of yourself that you would rather not acknowledge. You'd certainly never want to tell anyone about it. It's all the aspects and experiences of yourself that you've deemed bad or dark or unacceptable, and it's the parts that you've judged and cast out, you know, rejecting your true self on a deep level. And it's that bad feeling that rises up when you think of something you wish that you hadn't done or that hadn't been done to you. So you know that really deep feeling that you get, it can be like a surge of fear or dread. That's shadow self. So you might be familiar with that if you've been on the awakening pathway and you're, you know, used to these intense emotions coming up. But the thing is that we all have a certain level of darkness inside of us. We all have that shadow in some form or another, whether we want to illuminate it, to admit it, to accept it or not. And that can be quite hard for light workers to accept, especially when we are so sensitive to such a harsh exterior world. And we find the world so cruel and greedy and lustful and exploitative, excuse me, that the pain is too hard to bear. And we insulate ourselves naturally. We curl in and we cut ourselves off, and we move in until there's actually no further inside that you can go. There's nowhere else to hide. And we cut ourselves off from this darkness. We keep the darkness out there, and we project it out there in order to protect ourselves. Because when we're so painfully sensitive, if we don't project that onto the outside world, there's actually no safe place to hide. And that's an unbearable thought for a sensitive person. Being within your own self wouldn't be safe. You wouldn't be able to survive here without some tiny space that is your safe place to go. You need something to shelter you. So that's where this shadow self starts to develop. I'd just like to say a quick hello to Kim and Letitia, is that? Hi guys, thanks for joining us. Excuse me a second, I'm just going to have a little sip of tea so that my throat doesn't close up. Right, that's better. So, the broken psyche. So, it's the creator of your shadow self, the broken psyche. By that I mean mentally feeling broken down, trauma, things that have scarred you in your life. And let's face it, on the awakening pathway, we've all felt, I was going to say a little, but a lot crazy. We've all felt crazy. I've felt crazy many times. And not many of us actually make it through without feeling that your mind has been broken, or at least bent to a level that you can't really come back from. But in truth, the brokenness of our minds actually occurred a really long time ago. So it comes up now as part of awakening, but it's an old issue. And it's the past brokenness in the mind that caused you to develop these unconscious shadow aspects in the first place. Awakening just brings it all to the surface so that you can see it. And it's born of necessity, it's survival, it's a protection mechanism. It's like a split part of us that kind of breaks off and encapsulates all that trauma and all the stuff that we can't deal with, and all the stuff that we don't want to see, feel or experience. It literally shelters us from the truth in an attempt to keep us alive, because it's the fear that if we actually knew the truth we wouldn't be able to handle it, because we are really sensitive beings. So would we actually be able to handle it if we knew the truth? And in many ways it is a good thing, because for sensitive souls like us who are already buckling under the pressure of the normal living world, to take much more probably would threaten our survival. Maybe we wouldn't make it if we knew everything. So instead our subconscious uses these various coping mechanisms to ensure our safety and protection from the issues in many different ways. So I'm going to go over some of the different ways that our subconscious does that. So damage of the mind creates these following things. See if you can recognise any of them within yourself. Hi Linda. And hi, is it Leaky? I'm not sure how to say that. Likey? Thanks for joining us and thanks for the love. So damage of the mind creates, first of all, blind spots. Blind spots. So pain that is so great that the subconscious actually blocks it out entirely. Entirely. Realities of life that we can't see, we can't acknowledge, we can't notice or understand, even when it's right in front of us. That comes up in a big way. Blind spots. Denial. So our mind simply won't allow us to accept what's put before us. So it starts to create patterns of rationalising, of defending, arguing, justifying and fighting. That's absolutely normal. These are all just aspects of this damage coming up. Perception alteration. So our perception actually changes. Our psyche won't allow us to view issues or experiences in the truth of what they are, because we can't actually handle what it means about ourselves or the world or the people around us. Okay, so it completely changes our perception and we don't even know that it's changed our perception. You're completely unaware of it. Regressed behaviour is another coping mechanism. So due to whenever it was these aspects of self split off, you know, in an attempt to protect you when they disconnected, we might have parts of us that actually reflect younger, teenage or childlike parts of ourselves, and when they're challenged they will literally act out in childish ways, maybe without your conscious control. It's just such an ingrained pattern. You might cry, you might throw a temper tantrum, you might lash out, you might run away, you might suddenly feel that you need your mum or your dad. That's a real childlike thing. And it all starts to come up. So that regressed behaviour, behaving in ways that you can't explain and you're not consciously aware of, and you're like, why am I doing this? I don't know why. That's why. And the last one is disconnection. So cutting yourself off from those around you, being unable to ever really connect to anyone, hiding from life in an unhealthy, introverted way. I know I can relate to that one because I did that for a really, really long time. you know, cutting everybody off because that's the best way to survive in this really harsh world. It's not necessarily the answer, but it is a coping mechanism that your broken psyche is trying to protect you. It's just a natural way of protecting you. And these are all protection mechanisms, and if they're there, then they had good reason to be there. They're not there for nothing. Your subconscious has been working very, very hard to keep you safe, to keep you okay. The good news is that they can be healed and changed with gentleness and with compassion in a way that allows all the functions of the mind to become healthy, whole, complete, for you to have access to all of those. And it's simply by being willing to look, willing to see, no matter what happened in the past, you're safe here and now. You made it. You're okay. You survived. So it's all over now. You made it. You're okay. Everything's all right. So now is the time when it's safe to look. It might not have been safe at that time to look at what was going on around you, but now, in the perspective that you're in, and the fact that you've grown up a bit and you've had more life experience, now is a safe time for you to do that. Okay? Give me a little tick. I'm going to have another sip of tea because my throat's starting to go a little bit. Okay. Darkness. So this is what's been happening for me over the last few weeks, just to give you an idea of the purge that I'm currently going through. One of many. You're never finished with awakening. So I did have an experience of this over the last few weeks, and it had been brewing for some time, this kind of emotional storm that was under the surface. And I knew something was coming, and I was doing some healing to kind of tackle what was coming up as it came up. But you know, when the pain finally really rose to the surface, I was shocked at the intensity of it and the depth of it, but I wasn't surprised that the pain was there. Okay, it was quite obvious that that was why the pain was there. What was surprising was the blind spots, the denial, the regression, and the perception alteration that that pain had actually caused. It was like suddenly have a light shone on your past experiences and seeing it for something totally different from before. And that was really shocking. So you're getting a whole different perspective of what's been going on, and it's like, whoa, that did not look like that to me at the time. It's really insane that I can see it so different now. But like every purge before, I worked my way through it. I did my tapping. I was allowing the tears to flow, honouring the pain in the best way that I could, even though things were a little bit shaky. And knowing that inevitably, just like all the purges before it, it would pass and the light would return and I would feel freer and better and healthier as a result of it. But right when I hoped it would pass, it deepened. It actually got deeper, this purge. And these veils of deception started to lift. And cold, hard truth began to surge to the surface in a way that I wasn't really prepared for in any way. And experiences that I'd had were now laid before me, free of all possible denial or projections, perceptions, and I was left with only the truth. So it was a really powerful spiritual experience for this stuff to just be lifted right off the top. All the denial, all the confusion, all the perspective that I'd had taken right off, and just truth was left. And the truth really hurt. The truth was like, whoa, that stings to look at that, you know? It's painful. And it meant that I had thought that I was seeing clearly on something, and maybe you'll be able to resonate with this. You think that you're seeing clearly on something and making decisions and taking action based on truth, but it's not. It's based on your perceptions. And it was based on the lie designed by my subconscious to keep me safe. And I understood the motivations of my mind and understood why my subconscious had done what it did, because there's a lot of things that we can't handle at the time, and your subconscious will put that protective mechanism over the top. But suddenly having all of that information kind of ripped the map that was the fabric of my life and the way I found my way around life so far. It turned out that the map wasn't accurate. The map I was using to live my life wasn't accurate, and I couldn't trust my map anymore. It changed everything. So I was going to have to look at the land all over again and construct a new map based on what I could clearly see now, that all this this veil had been lifted. It was pretty wild and pretty deep. And I knew I could do that, so that was okay. I could create a new map, and I could look at the truth and construct a new, healthier view of life and of the world. And it was tough, but acceptable, like, to do that, and empowering. What wasn't feeling acceptable was how I'd behaved as a result of the damage. And I couldn't accept the fact that I couldn't see what I wasn't able to handle. I couldn't accept that I had not been as perfect as I thought I was, and as good and as pure as I'd hoped I'd been. And then started all this judgment. So this is the next thing that comes up. And let me know if you resonate. I can see a few people tell me they resonate with this already. Because judgment feeds the darkness. Okay, judgment always feeds the darkness. So, on reflection, pain had made me kind of selfish. It had at times in my life caused me to become so insular and so protective that I'd cut everyone and everything else off completely. And in truth, I hadn't really considered how that was affecting other people, because I couldn't deal with discomfort or hurt or upset. I'd become so sensitive that I'd cut people off in the only way I knew how to protect myself, and I hadn't considered the pain that might have caused other people. I had justified my actions with my pain. You know, pain makes you do that because it's all you can see, it's all you can feel, and you can't consider what's going on for other people. It makes you really, really insular. And I'd given myself a bit of a free pass because the world seemed all dark and I felt like a vulnerable light that was in danger of being snuffed out. So it was justified. And I'd sought solace in my guides and in the higher realms where it felt safe. And I'd learned to cling to those higher realms by the tips of my fingers as a way of avoiding real human life. You know, for the most part of my awakening, I spent it in my bedroom meditating, you know, connecting to my guides and asking for answers. Instead of being in any way, shape or form living my real life, I couldn't handle it. And I thought that I was being this higher self by doing that, but I wasn't living in the world. So there was a discord in that. And it was a way of avoiding the truth within myself. So there's truths in there under all that stuff, under all that damage that I didn't want to look at, which is natural. We'll all do that. But it was painful, and it was a way of disputing the truth that I could ever be human. Oh God, I can't be human. You know, maybe you can resonate with that as a light worker. Don't want to be human. And as a result, it causes you to push away all the attributes that come as a natural part of being human. It makes you push them to the outside. And then after some reflection, balance came, okay? Does it mean that we're perfect? No. We are a balance of darkness and light. And we never will be perfect as long as we're down here in human form, because we're governed by human wants, needs, desires. But can there still be purity filtered through that medium? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you already are that. No matter what you've done or created or broken, no matter what you've caused, you are still purity filtered through that human experience. Admitting your mistakes and your shadow self does not negate that in any way, shape or form, but what it does powerfully do as part of spiritual awakening is it makes you become fully present. It makes you a fully present, fully functioning human at optimum maturation, at least until the next time a purge comes along. And it makes you take responsibility for your actions. It allows you to be empathic without pain. It helps you to create boundaries and be lovingly assertive. It helps you to unconditionally accept others because you're willing to accept yourself no matter what. That's what unconditional love is. I accept myself no matter what. And it brings truth, and with that true self. And that's the thing where your real power lies, in your true self. So how do we acknowledge the shadow self? Because that's the toughest part of all of this. And the challenge with acknowledging your shadow self is that it's largely unconscious. So even for me, I've been doing healing all these years and I've been clearing and working at stuff, and the closer you get to the bottom of the barrel, the more that these things are so unconscious, you almost can't find them even if you look for them. And if I've learned anything over the last few weeks, it's the sheer power of your unconscious mind and its ability to override your conscious awareness. the most frightening thing about all of this is not actually what you would see if you were to look. It's the fact that you might be entirely blind to something that you know nothing about. That's much more frightening. How can you know what you don't know? How can you light darkness that you don't consciously realise is even there? Well, the good news is that awakening will bring it at some point. That's what's happening to me now, and it's happened in lighter ways before, but this is the depth of it really coming now. The truth will always find a way to the surface, but rest assured that it won't come until you're able to handle it. It won't come until you're ready, and that's one thing that I've realised, because I would have thought that I wouldn't be able to handle this stuff if it came up. I can handle it. It's not that much fun, and it's upsetting, and there have been days where I've been really crying because you've got to get this stuff out. But can I handle it? Yeah, I can handle it. If this had happened 3 or 4 years ago, could I handle it? No. So it's all about timing. It won't come until you're ready to actually deal with it, and until you're supported in a way that you can actually look at it. So the truth will always find its way to the surface when you're able to handle it. And you can investigate this for yourself. So you need to do it gently, and you need to do it with loving compassion, but think along the lines of, what secrets do I have that I would never tell anyone? What does that bring up for you? Or what things have happened? What things have I done that I would never admit to anyone? That's where you get deep down. That's where you get to the stuff that is so hidden and so suppressed that you're not willing to look at it. And if those thoughts generate fear as we're talking about it, then there is a darkness within you that needs to be addressed. But let me reassure you that that darkness is not because that you're bad. It's not because you're bad. It's because you are judging yourself to be bad. Okay, let me repeat that. The darkness is not because you're bad. That feeling that rises up of dread or fear when you look in yourself, look at things that you've done, look at ways you've behaved, look at things that people have done to you. It's not because you are bad. It's because you are judging yourself to be bad. Okay? If you release the judgment, you'll release and heal the darkness. And you actually hold the key to healing your broken psyche. And when you do, all those parts that have broken and split off and hidden and been covered under denial and under veils and suppressed and blocked out, they all start to integrate and come together. And that's when you become whole. That's the process that's happening for me now. So as all these broken parts are starting to be illuminated, it's really upsetting. But as they actually illuminate and they come back in, there's a reactivation of things happening. So I can feel heightened emotions, happy emotions, in amongst this that I wasn't able to feel for a really long time. Some emotions that I've never felt before. So it's awakening up all the shut down parts of me, which might have happened in past lives, you don't know. But it's a really powerful thing, so don't be afraid of this. This is illumination. This is how you become your true divine self, your crystalline nature. That's how you become this. So the fear that comes as a result of even considering looking at your shadow self is not necessarily because of the fear of what's inside you, even though it might feel that way. It's because you've judged yourself to be a terrible human being as a result of it. The darkness is your own rejection of self, essentially. Once you can acknowledge that the darkness is there, that's the important thing. Everyone has darkness, no matter how light you think you are. This is a mistake I've been making. Everybody has darkness. But as long as you can accept that the darkness is there, and you can accept yourself for it with loving compassion no matter what, then you'll be free of it once and for all. And that is enlightenment. It's literally lightening your spirit, because it's getting all that heavy weight, all those burdens, all the pressure, all the secrets, all the lies. It's taking the weight off you, all that trauma. You'll never be freer and lighter and clearer than when you can let go of all that stuff, all those judgments and rejections of yourself. And that's how your true divine self shines in illumination and unconditional love. You need to be that unconditional love for yourself first, and only then can you actually extend that to other people, that compassion and that love. So before we go on, I just want to see if anyone has any questions, and I will answer some comments and things that people have said. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined us. Let's see. Linda says she lost her birth family because she took flight. She just couldn't be there anymore, couldn't handle anymore. That's what we do, Linda. It's all just protection mechanisms. It's trying to take care of ourselves. It's trying to shield ourselves from hurt and pain that we just don't feel that we can handle. So don't beat yourself up about that. Just be willing to have a look at it and just see what it brings up. Just have a little look and see what your feelings and emotions are about that, and acknowledge the feelings and emotions that are in there. And most importantly, don't judge yourself as bad. Know that we're never trying to hurt or harm someone else. We're never really trying to be bad. We just try to protect ourselves, and you need to look at it from a place where you didn't have any other resources or coping mechanisms. If you had, you would have done something different. You did the best you could with what you had at the time. So please be gentle with yourself about that, Linda. Hi to DJ and Vicky. Let's see, Vicky says she knows that feeling and the words are so true. That's great. So I'll just give you a second to see if there's any questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys have, but I'll move on a little bit and come back to those. So are you actually ready to heal your broken psyche and repair the damage of the mind, to illuminate your shadow self and all these hidden aspects of self that you're being blocked from? If you're feeling triggered or you would like some deep healing and comforting help with these issues, you can check out our new energy healing session. So it is slightly different from what we usually do each month. It's not a meditation as such. It's more focused on active energy healing rather than the awakening activations. So it's a similar setup. It's about 17 minutes long, but you hear me speak much more through it, and the guides, as we're tuning into them, are telling me exactly what they're bringing into our energies, the things that we need, the things that we need to release, and the teachings that we need to have. They're very clear about it, and it is jam-packed, really jam-packed. It's very, very powerful. I'm even going to repeat it a few times by myself, because the guides have really brought this in intensely. So it'll help you to illuminate and accept your shadow self, identify unconscious patterns, and see the divine truth safely and gently. That's the key. Seeing it when you're ready, when you can handle it in a safe and gentle way. And it's all focused on healing broken parts of the mind and psyche, and integrating all parts of yourself to become your most complete, whole and healthy self. Okay, so if you want to see if it's a fit for you, I will link to it in the comments below, and you can have a little look and see if it resonates. But that's available now. It's only available for the next 7 days, and then we'll be on to the next thing. Let's see. So Kim says, being in the dark, looking for the light with a third eye advice. What I would say, Kim, is if you feel you're in the dark, there's something there that needs to be illuminated. So you won't necessarily find your way out of that by looking for the light, but actually more likely you'll find your way out by turning towards the darkness and looking at the darkness, because when you look at it, you illuminate it. So try and have a look at what it is that you might be running from in your life. What things are there that you wish hadn't happened? What is it about this darkness that you're in that you can't really escape from? If there was something you were running from in it, what is it that makes it uncomfortable? And start to just have a look down that route and see what there is, because, you know, looking for the light to open your third eye or work on it doesn't always work as easily as that. It's more about look at what you're avoiding. That's what all this shadow self stuff is about. It's about, okay, I'm trying to get towards the light, but as a result of that, where am I casting darkness and shadows behind me? And what do they mean? Because when you look at them, you illuminate them. When you illuminate them, you make yourself light. Okay, so try to have a little look at what's going on and see if there's anything you can pick up on. And I have no doubts that it will clear on the awakening pathway, because certainly what I have learned many times is if the universe wants to clear something out of you, it will clear it out of you, whether you want to have it happen, whether you're ready for it or not. It's going to make sure that you clear everything you need to clear. So that will come. Just be gentle with yourself and be kind to yourself as you're coming through all that. Let's see. Manuel says, feeling that the world isn't real, but I don't know how to stay in this world with all this stuff. Maybe did too much work with a spiritual master, but this is again mind. Want to close again and feel more human. That's common. Really, really common. What's probably happening is that you are working with a spiritual master and you're becoming ungrounded. That happens to us a lot. We become really ungrounded, and we find it difficult to be present in the real world. That happened to me for like 3 years. So look at getting grounded. Check out our blog posts and our free 5-day course that'll teach you how to do that. That's available on the main page of the website, spiritualawakeningsigns.com, and it'll guide you through getting grounded in a way. Not everything we use to get grounded is helpful, some of it's dangerous, so trust the course and use what's in there, and that'll probably give you some guidance to make you feel a bit more present. That sounds like that's what's going on there. Okay guys, I'm going to close this up because my nose is running and I'm on the verge of coughing, so I will leave it there. I'll put the link to the energy healing session in the comments, and if you have any questions or comments, just pop them in the box. Even if it's not live, I'm more than happy to come back to you and address any questions that you might have. So in the meantime, dealing with shadow self stuff, big hugs and so much unconditional love to you. Everything will be alright. You just need to be willing to have a little look and just keep on moving through, and you'll get there. Thanks guys, bye.